There is a $1 object sitting quietly in millions of backyards right now that can heat water hot enough for a shower without electricity, without gas, and without a single solar panel. Just a simple black garden hose lying in the sun. No wires, no complicated equipment, no monthly bill. The kind of thing so ordinary you might walk past it every day without ever realizing what it can do. For thousands of years, humans understood a simple truth about sunlight and water. When the sun strikes a dark surface, that surface absorbs energy and converts it into heat. If water happens to be inside that dark surface, the heat moves into the water, slowly, quietly, and completely for free. Long before modern water heaters filled basements and utility closets, people were warming their water using nothing but sunlight and clever design. Some ancient civilizations ran water through sun-exposed pipes before it ever reached their bathhouses. Others stored water in dark containers placed in open courtyards, and by afternoon the water was warm enough to bathe in. Comfortably. Nobody needed a gas bill to make that happen. Nobody needed electricity humming through wires in the walls. The sun simply did the work. And yet, somewhere along the way, this incredibly simple idea faded from everyday knowledge. Modern homes now rely on machines that burn fuel or draw power from the grid to heat water around the clock. Many families spend hundreds of dollars every year for something nature can provide freely for a large part of the year. Today, we're opening the door to that forgotten simplicity again. Not as a conspiracy story or a dramatic secret, but as a reminder of how powerful basic physics can be when you actually use it. Before we go further, I want to say something real for a moment. If you enjoy learning about these kinds of simple, overlooked ideas, things that make life a little easier without costing much, consider subscribing to the channel. Not because I'm chasing numbers, but because it helps keep these conversations going. And honestly, I love hearing from people who try these ideas themselves. If you've ever done something similar, share your experience in the comments. Those stories are often the most interesting part of these videos. Now let's talk about how a simple hose can create hot water. So, more than a century ago, a man named Clarence Kemp built one of the first commercial solar water heaters in the United States. In 1891, he constructed a device that looked surprisingly simple. A metal tank painted black. Placed inside a wooden box with a glass lid, cold water entered the tank in the morning. By the afternoon, the water inside had been heated entirely by sunlight. Kemp called his invention the Climax Solar Water Heater. It didn't require fire, electricity, or complicated machinery. The sun warmed the dark metal tank, and the heat transferred directly into the water stored inside. Families could use that hot water for washing dishes, bathing, or doing laundry. By the early 1900s, thousands of these systems had already been installed across sunny regions like California. Entire neighborhoods were heating their water using nothing but sunlight hitting a dark surface. It wasn't futuristic technology. It was simple physics applied in a clever way. But here's the interesting part. Kemp didn't invent the idea itself. He simply refined something people had been doing for centuries. In ancient Rome, bathhouses sometimes routed water through pipes laid across sun-exposed stone terraces. The water warmed slightly before it ever reached the furnace. In parts of Persia and the Middle East, engineers designed channels that carried water through dark stone structures heated by the sun. Even earlier, some cultures used clay basins placed in open sunlight to warm water for bathing. Different civilizations arrived at the same conclusion again and again. Sunlight plus dark surfaces equals heat. It's not mysterious, it's not experimental, it's basic thermodynamics. Dark materials absorb more of the sun's radiation. When that radiation is absorbed, it becomes thermal energy. If water is nearby, inside a pipe, tank, or container, it absorbs that heat. That same principle explains why asphalt roads feel scorching under bare feet in summer, while lighter-colored concrete stays cooler. Dark surfaces hold onto the sun's energy. A black garden hose is essentially a long, flexible pipe designed specifically to carry water. When that pipe lies in direct sunlight, it acts like a miniature solar heater. Picture a 50-foot hose stretched across a driveway on a sunny afternoon. Inside that hose is over a gallon of water. As sunlight strikes the rubber surface, the hose warms. The heat transfers through the rubber and into the water flowing inside. After an hour or two, that water can become surprisingly hot. Anyone who has turned on an outdoor hose during summer has probably experienced this. The first burst of water often comes out almost too hot to touch. That heat didn't come from a machine. It came from sunlight heating the hose. If you coil the hose so that more surface area absorbs sunlight, the effect becomes even stronger. A tightly coiled black hose exposed to several hours of direct sun can warm the water inside to temperatures that feel similar to a comfortable shower. Sometimes even hotter, depending on the climate and intensity of sunlight. And here's where the idea becomes practical. Instead of letting that hot water spray uselessly onto the ground when you first turn on the hose, you can intentionally design a simple system that collects and uses it. The setup can be incredibly basic. A coil of hose placed on a roof, patio, or dartboard in a sunny location. Cold water enters one end, sunlight heats the coil, warm water exits the other end. Gravity or normal water pressure moves the water through the hose. No pumps required. Some people connect the output to an outdoor shower head for camping or backyard rinsing after swimming. Others run it to a small sink in an outdoor kitchen. It's not meant to replace every indoor water heater everywhere, but during warm months it can provide surprisingly comfortable hot water for certain uses. I remember the first time I tried something like this, years ago while camping. We laid a black hose across a flat rock near the campsite and left it there while hiking for the afternoon. When we came back, curiosity got the better of us. Someone turned the valve, and the water that came out was warm enough to wash dishes comfortably. It felt almost ridiculous how simple it was. Moments like that remind you how many everyday conveniences actually rely on basic physics. We rarely stop to notice. If you're still watching right now, let me pause for a second and say thank you. These longer videos take time to make, and knowing people stick around for them means a lot. If something here sparks your curiosity, tap the like button or leave a comment about where you're watching from. I read far more of those messages than you might expect. Now let's go a little deeper into how this simple hose system can be set up intentionally. Building a basic solar heated hose system doesn't require specialized equipment. In fact, most of the components are things many homeowners already have. The first piece is the hose itself. A black garden hose works best because darker materials absorb more sunlight. The length can vary, but around 50 feet is common and holds a useful volume of water. Next comes placement. The hose needs to sit somewhere that receives several hours of direct sunlight. A south-facing roof, a sunny patio, or even a sheet of plywood painted black can work well. The goal is simply to expose as much of the hose surface as possible to the sun. Coiling the hose into a spiral helps maximize the amount of tubing receiving sunlight within a compact space. When cold water enters the coil, it travels slowly through the sun-heated tubing. As it moves along, it absorbs heat from the warmed hose walls. By the time it reaches the outlet, the temperature has risen significantly compared to the incoming water. For the simplest setup, the inlet side of the hose connects to a regular outdoor faucet, and the outlet side can attach to a shower nozzle, spray head, or small valve to control flow. Water pressure from the faucet pushes the water through the coil naturally. Another approach is using a gravity-fed container, like a rain barrel, positioned slightly higher than the hose coil. Gravity allows water to move slowly through the tubing, which actually gives it more time to heat up. Slower flow often means warmer output. This is why many off-grid campers and van travelers like this idea. It works anywhere sunlight is strong enough, even far away from electrical hookups. Of course, there are limits. Cloudy days reduce heating, cooler seasons produce lower temperatures, and during winter, in colder climates, the effect may be minimal. But in warm, sunny regions during spring and summer, the results can be surprisingly effective. Even partial use can reduce how often traditional heaters need to run. And sometimes the value isn't just about saving money, it's about independence. There's something deeply satisfying about stepping under warm water that was heated entirely by the sun that afternoon. No switch flipped, no appliance humming in the background, just sunlight quietly doing the work. It reconnects you with a rhythm that humans relied on long before modern energy systems existed. If you've ever taken an outdoor solar shower while camping, you know the feeling. The warmth feels different somehow, simpler, more direct. And moments like that make you appreciate how clever some of these low-tech solutions really are. I'd actually love to know something. Have you ever accidentally discovered hot water in a sun-heated hose during summer? Almost everyone who has used a garden hose has experienced that surprise burst of warmth. If you have, tell a story in the comments. It's funny how many people share the exact same moment of realization. Also, if you're someone who enjoys exploring practical ideas like this, simple setups, overlooked designs, and small tricks that make life easier, you might want to subscribe and stick around. I try to keep this space focused on curiosity and experimentation rather than hype. No pressure, just an open invitation. Because honestly, the best part of these videos isn't the numbers or the views. It's the community of people who enjoy rediscovering simple solutions that somehow slipped out of everyday conversation. And that's really what this story is about. Not a secret, not a forbidden technology. Forbidden technology. Just a reminder that sometimes the most useful ideas are the ones hiding in plain sight. A black hose, a little sunlight, and water warming quietly while the afternoon passes. The sun will rise tomorrow morning just like it always has, and when its light hits that dark coil of hose, the same simple physics will start working again, turning cool water into warm water without asking anyone